In this video, we're going to combine the index and match functions to look up values in a table. I'm going to go over how the match function works just so you can kind of conceptualize a little bit. Then we'll incorporate the match function into the index to find the row number and the column number. And we will use both of those then to go to this table of data and select, for example, the sales figure here for May of 2004 or for July of 2006, whatever we want to do. All right, let's start here. And to do that, I want to show you how to find the row and column numbers for data displayed in a table like this. We have a little table down here. We have our records, which is each year's figures, and then within each year we have the sales figures, for example, for each month and the year. I'm going to use data validation and create a list of the years in this cell and then a list of the months in this cell. So just very quickly, I'll go up here to data. I'm not going to put any error messages in or anything, just use data validation and change this to a list. And then the list I want for the source, I'm going to use all of these year values. Then for my month column, I'll again data validation and change this to list and put in this series of data values. And there we go. And you can see I have created that list there and this list here. So I'll go ahead and find the position of 2000 in this column of values here using the match function. And we can see it's in position 2, but it would be nice to be able to tell Excel that to use it later. So I'll go ahead and enter the match function, match. And first thing it wants to know is, what am I looking up? Well, I'm looking up 2000, or this value in A10. And where? What's the lookup array? Well, my lookup array is down here. It's this column of values. All right, comma. Then it wants to know the type of match. And in this case, we're going to use an exact match. That's what we're going to use for most of our examples. We'll use an exact match. And it's going to come back and tell me that that value is in row 2. Sure enough, it is in row 2. And of course, I would trap the error. For example, if this were a blank, which it could be a blank, I would get an error message. See if I make that a blank. I get an error message. So I want to trap that error message. I don't want error values. There's 1999, row 1. So I'm going to start this with if, and then I'll look up here to see if it's blank. If it is, I'll put in a blank. Otherwise, then I'll do my match function. Always looking for that error. That's important. That way, if the user leaves this blank, we don't get an error message. All right, we'll get 2002. We see that's in row 4. Now let's find out what column. Let's look up March. So we'll use the match function, and again, we'll just trap for the error. If this value is a blank, then we'll put in a blank. Otherwise, let's use the match function. And of course, it wants to know what value to look up, and I say look up value in B10, which is March. Where? Well, let's look in our columns that are labeled with our months. And of course, we want an exact match, which is a 0. We need to put that in there. And then I'll balance the parentheses with the parenthesis for the if statement, and we're in good shape. You can see that March is indeed in column 3. So that shows us how the match is looking up the row and column value based on the year and month that I want to select. Now we go to exercise 2, and we will take a look at what that means for us. We want to use the index function to go out and get a value from our data. And in this case, for this example, we want to get the value for July of 2006, which is $3,698.14. So I'm going to enter some values here. I'll start with the index function. And let's just go get the first thing it wants to know the array where the data is stored. We can put this in any way we want to. I'm going to just not select the titles here. I'm just going to select the array. A lot of times we make this absolute. I'm not going to this time to keep the formula a little more simple, but we will in the future. There's our array. Then you can see it wants to know the row number and the column number. Well, I'll go ahead and just use the match function. Just type in match, and I put in a left parenthesis, and it says the lookup value. Well, in the row, we're looking in the row, what we'd wanted was July of 2006, so the row has years in it, so I'll put in 2006. And it says, all right, where's the lookup array? Well, it's right here, leaving out the word year. Then I need to indicate exact match. You always need to include this. It's not optional. It'll cause an error message if you don't many times. Then I need the column, which again I'll use match. And I have the column, and it's a text, so I have to put the value in quotes. And I wanted July, so I'll put that in quotes. And then I'll go ahead and get my column of values here. Again, include a 0 for an exact match. And then parenthesis for my match. And a parenthesis for my index. Press enter, and it goes out and gets that value, which is 3,698.14. Now that worked fine, but that would be cumbersome to have to go in here and enter the year and the month all of the time. So what I'd rather be able to do is enter those values here. In this case, I want to transpose these. I want to put the months down here and the years across the top. So we'll go ahead and just start this way. I'll use data validation to set up this will be my year column. So I'll go over here and select list. I'm going to go to my table and get my years. Now I'll go over here, data validation. If you're using an old version of Excel, I think 2007 or earlier, it won't let you create a list from another worksheet. Your list has to be on the same worksheet. This way, though, we can go to another worksheet, and we want to grab our months, put those in there. Okay. All right, and now that we have our values in here, as you can see, let's go ahead and get some values. Let's go back and get this value for July 2006. We'll use our index. We'll go over here and get the array, leaving out the titles. In this case, we could put the titles in. It's just another step. And I'm going to go ahead and make this absolute. Then I'll use my match function to get the row that it wants. And for the row, I'll go back here, get the row number, which is the 2006. And I want to look for that. The lookup array is over here, 2006, so I want to go get those. I'm transposing these now as I bring them over. Make that absolute, and an exact match is 0. Close off the match function for the row. Now the column it wants, so I'll use the match function. The column I want is July right here. That is found in my columns here. And I'll make that absolute. Should have made all of those absolute. I'm trying to make them absolute. And then an exact match, and close off the match, and then close off the index function, press enter, and you can say I have it. I can get the figure for July of 2005, which it says is 3216.13. Let's see, July of 2005, 3216. Yeah, sure enough, so that's working just fine. Now let's do a little something with this. Let's go ahead and use our data validation to put a list of years in here. Look at the list, years, right here. All right, so let's get everything for 2006, and we'll go ahead then, and we'll use our index function. We'll go out here and identify our values, which are here. We'll definitely make it absolute this time, because we are going to copy it. And then we'll match, and it wants the row. Put in a left parenthesis, and the row is our year value, so that's found here, and we'll make that absolute, because we're going to copy this. We're going to find that value in our column of years here. We have to make that absolute. And an exact match, so we need a 0 there. Now the column, we'll use the match function to tell the index function what column we want. And in this case, we want the corresponding month. We'll leave this relative though, because as we copy this down, we want to get each month's value and a comma, and those months then are found in this array of months. We'll make that absolute. It's got to be an exact match, so we'll put comma 0 there. Close up the match, close up the index, and press enter, and we have our January 2006 value, and we'll just copy that down, and we get them all. You can see we have July here, 2006, which matched that value up here. We can check them with this. There's July. Let's get June here. June is 4301. June here is 4301. We can look back here across 2006 and see it's rounding that up. But we have looked up those values, and we can change this now and get the summary for 2004, 2003. It's a very powerful feature. That's how you use the index and match functions to look up values in a table of values.